Fritz Kuhn was born in Munich, in the German Empire on May 15, 1896, the son of Georg Kuhn and Julia Beuth. During World War I, he earned an Iron Cross as a German infantry lieutenant. After the war, he joined the Freikorps and later graduated from the Technical University of Munich with a master's degree in chemical engineering. In the 1920s, Kuhn moved to Mexico. In 1928, he moved to the United States, and became a naturalized citizen of the United States in 1934. He worked at a Ford factory in Detroit before assuming control of the German American Bund in Buffalo, New York, in 1936. A congressional committee headed by Samuel Dickstein concluded that the Friends of New Germany supported a branch of German dictator Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party in the United States, and the Friends of New Germany was disbanded. However, in March 1936, the German American Bund was established in Buffalo as a successor organization. The Bund elected the German-born American citizen Fritz Kuhn as its leader. Fritz Kuhn, while describing the Bund as sympathetic to the Hitler government, denied they received money or took orders from the German government. He also denied that the Bund had any agenda of introducing fascism to the United States. Kuhn enlisted thousands of Americans by using anti-Semitic, anti-communist, pro-German and American propaganda. One of his first tasks was planning a trip to Germany with 50 of his followers. The intention was to be in the presence of Hitler and to witness Nazism in practice firsthand. At this time, Germany was preparing to host the 1936 Olympics. He expected a warm welcome from Adolf Hitler, but the encounter was reportedly disappointing. But this didn't stop Kuhn telling his followers about how Hitler acknowledged him as the so-called American Führer. As his public profile grew, the tension also rose. Not only Jewish Americans, but also German Americans who didn't want to be associated with Nazis protested against the Bund. These protests were occasionally violent, making the Bund front-page news across the United States. In 1938, in response to public outrage, Congress passed the Foreign Agents Registration Act requiring foreign agents to register with the State Department. The negative public attention surrounding the American Nazis angered Hitler, reportedly because he wanted the Nazi Party in the United States to be strong but stealthy. Hitler needed to keep the US neutral in the event of a war, and wanted to avoid provoking America. But Fritz Kuhn was eager to stir media attention. On March 1, 1938, the Nazi government decreed that no German national could be a member of the Bund and that no Nazi emblems were to be used by the organization. Then, on September 3, 1938, the Bund re-elected Kuhn, and on February 20 the next year, Kuhn held the largest and most publicized rally in the Bund's history at Madison Square Garden in New York City. Some 20,000 people attended and heard Kuhn mock President Franklin D. Roosevelt by calling him Frank D. Rosenfeld, calling his New Deal their Jew Deal, and denouncing what he called Bolshevik Jewish American leadership. There was an outbreak of violence between Bund storm troopers and thousands of angry protesters in the streets. During his speech, a Jewish protester named Isidor Greenbaum rushed the stage and had to be rescued by police after he was beaten and stripped by stormtroopers. Later in 1939, seeking to cripple the Bund, New York City Mayor Forlo LaGuardia ordered the city to investigate the Bund's taxes. It alleged that Kuhn had embezzled $14,548 from the organization, spending part of the money on a mistress. The district attorney Thomas E. Dewey issued an indictment on May 25, 1939, and won a conviction against him. On December 5, 1939, he was sentenced to 2.5 to 5 years in prison for larceny and forgery. On December 6, he was sent to the infamous Sing Sing prison. Despite his convictions for embezzlement, followers of the Bund continued to hold Kuhn in high regard, in line with the Nazi principle of Führerprinzip, which gives the leader absolute power. In 1940, a man named James Wheeler Hill, the secretary of the Bund, was sentenced to 1 to 3 years in prison after pleading guilty to perjury for falsely testifying that he was an American citizen at Kuhn's trial. He'd been born in Latvia, and was never naturalized as a U.S. citizen. Kuhn's citizenship was revoked on June 1, 1943, while he was in Sing Sing prison, on the grounds of it having been obtained fraudulently as shown by his ongoing activity as a foreign agent of, and a person with loyalty including oaths of military service towards, Germany and the Nazi Party. Upon his release from Sing Sing prison, he was re-arrested on June 21, 1943, as an enemy agent and interned by the federal government at a camp in Crystal City, Texas. His wife and 16-year-old son were also interned, branded enemy aliens. Kuhn's family had returned to Germany in 1938, but came back to support him for the trial. They were repatriated to Germany in an exchange in February 1944. After the war, Kuhn, along with 714 other so-called unteachable Germans, was sent to Ellis Island and deported to Germany on September 15, 1945. Upon his return, he was interned at Hohenasperg Fortress, near Stuttgart. ICIC agent who interrogated Kuhn in January 1946 recommended his release, saying he was discredited and spiritually broken. Kuhn had wanted to return to the United States, but ended up working as an industrial chemist in a small chemical factory in Munich. The German authorities decided that he could be tried under Germany's denazification laws, and he was arrested and imprisoned in July 1947. While held in an internment camp at Dachau, awaiting trial by a Bavarian German denazification court, he escaped on February 4, 1948, but was re-arrested on June 15 in the town of Bernkastel, in the French occupation zone. He had been sentenced to 10 years of hard labor, having been found guilty in absentia after a 5-hour trial on April 20. The proceeding was apparently made conspicuous by the absence of not only Kuhn but also his lawyer and witnesses. The trial was carried out entirely by the presentation of documents which purported to show that Kuhn had close ties with Hitler's Third German Reich and that he had tried to transplant its ideology into the United States. How Kuhn escaped has never been officially explained, although there was an investigation. The camp director, Anton Zernjabel, was fired. Kuhn told reporters, "The door was open so I went through." He said on June 17 that he considered the 10-year sentence as a major Nazi offender unfair and that he intended to appeal. Later in 1949, an appellate court reduced the sentence to 2 years of hard labor. He was released on February 22 that year. Kuhn died of unknown causes on December 14, 1951, in Munich, Germany. He was 55 years old. Fritz